JHS are masters at marketing. At this point, that is an undeniable fact. They've done everything right, from having the right people promote products, to meme marketing, to building a strong and loyal following surrounding the brand. At this point, JHS are the pedal influencers, and very powerful ones at that. It's been proven multiple times at this point that when Josh Scott speaks about a pedal, he can drastically change the pedal market. And recently, JHS have once again taken the guitar gear world by storm by releasing a DIY Klon kit. Within just 1 week, they sold 12,000 units, and they're preparing to sell 20,000. That's $1.2 million worth sold in a week, with an expected 2 million. It's safe to say that the NOTAKLÖN pedal has been a success. But I have some concerns, some things that I haven't seen anybody else mention. Now, in my experience, people tend to get a bit emotional on behalf of internet personalities they perceive to be their friends. And as we said, JHS have built up this strong and loyal community. So with that in mind, I have to say this. I am not attacking your bestie. I'm looking at a product from a consumer's perspective with a critical eye. Now, JHS have found themselves under some scrutiny before, primarily surrounding the cloning of pedals. But I've never really found those arguments to be particularly compelling because the entire pedal market is derivative of itself. There's 1,000,001 different clones from almost every different pedal brand out there. The point I'm making is that I'm indifferent towards JHS, and if the same product was released in the same way by Boss, I'd still have the same thoughts. So let's dive in. The Klon Centaur is a highly coveted overdrive pedal that on the second-hand market sells for thousands of dollars. And that alone should be evidence enough to say that guitar players can sometimes be a bit stupid. Hang on, I have to Clark Kent. There's said to be about 8,000 genuine Klon Centaurs made, and it's become one of the most cloned pedals ever, probably only second to the Tube Screamer. And this holy grail attitude towards the Klon has made it a great marketing tool. If you can create a pedal that sounds close to it or sounds exactly like it, well, then that should prove that that pedal is worth a lot more and it increases demand. And JHS found this out, probably by accident, when they talked about the Bad Monkey. The Digitech Bad Monkey was a cheap and unloved Tube Screamer clone, and JHS did a good video where he compared it to the expensive Klon. Josh Scott proved that this inexpensive and mass-produced pedal could sound just like the Klon Centaur. And when he proved that, pedal prices skyrocketed, as did sales. And we learned one thing, that the guitar players are stupid, paying hundreds of dollars more than what the pedal would have gone for a week before that video came out. And it's even funnier now, considering that no one cares about them anymore. And to be crystal clear, I'm not criticising JHS for any of this. They made a good video with a good point. You didn't need to spend a huge amount of money to get a good sound. In fact, an inexpensive pedal could sound just like a super expensive pedal. It was the brain trust that is guitar players that decided to inflate the price of the Bad Monkey. But just last week, JHS released a Klon clone of their own, the NOTAKLÖN pedal. And there's so many Klon clones out there at this point, it's not really something that's very special. Except for one thing that made it stand out from all the others, is that it was a DIY kit. And it's in that element where my skepticism lies. There are other DIY clone kits out there, but all of those are soldered. You get the parts and the board, you apply them and you solder them. You're building the pedal from scratch pretty much out of the parts. But the JHS pedal is solderless. It doesn't require a soldering iron or really any skill, and they are open about this. They got some kids to make it in their advert for it, proving that even a child could do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Oh. I did it! Yo, let's go!
So that clearly opens up a lot more potential customers to this product when compared to a soldered kit. And for $99, that's not a bad price. And you'd probably assume that's due to the DIY nature of it. You're doing it yourself, so you're probably saving some money. And that would be a pretty compelling and strong argument for almost any other pedal manufacturer, but I don't think it works here. JHS have proven 13 times at this point that they can build a pedal made in the USA in a plain white enclosure, 3 knobs, a toggle switch, and foot switch for $99. That's the core of their 3 series. A plain white enclosure, 3 knobs, and a toggle switch. Let's be real, the NOTAKLÖN could have just as easily been a 3 series pedal, a finished one at that, for $99. And that puts us in this uncomfortable position where there's really only 2 things we can say about the $99 price tag. It's either the same price to build yourself as it is to buy a fully finished and ready to go out of the box made in the USA pedal, because the DIY aspect, you're not actually doing all that much, and the difference between parts and the labor to put those parts together is near negligible, or they're saving money on labor and charging you the same price. Realistically, the DIY aspect of this pedal is minimal assembly, and it has to be that way for it to be solderless. There's not a whole lot to do. Break PCB, clip in a ribbon cable, tighten washers, add goop if you want, and screw the backplate on. It really is very straightforward, not very involved at all. But doing that 20,000 times will add up to some serious man hours, and that is wages saved if the customer is doing it themselves. But the core issue I have with this setup is, what do you gain versus what do you lose? Because you lose something here in this situation. So what do you gain? You get a JHS clone with the JHS mod. And that's nice. That's not something that you see on the other clones. There's some originality there. Probably not a major selling factor to a lot of people, because when you're buying a clone, you're buying it to sound like a clone, not a modded clone, but it is something that you gain. And the other part is bragging rights that you built a pedal. But looking at it critically, that's kind of all it is. You get to say that you built a pedal, but the skills aren't really transferable to building many other things. It's basic motor skills, tightening washers and screws. Like, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of difference between taking a pedal you already have, loosening the washers on the knobs, input jacks, taking the backplate off, pulling the board out, and then just popping it back in. That's kind of what you're doing here. I will say it really is a masterclass in marketing, because JHS have managed to market what would be considered tedious labor into one of the main selling points of the product, and they've made potentially multiple millions doing so. But that's what you gain: a clone with the JHS mod and the ability to say that you assembled some of it yourself. What do you lose? Well, a couple of important things that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. Out of every pedal JHS sells, the NOTAKLÖN is the only one that is non-returnable. It's a DIY kit, so it's understandable that it's not returnable, but that's a big thing that you miss out on. The warranty on a standard JHS pedal is 4 years. The warranty on a 3 series is 6 months, and the warranty on the NOTAKLÖN is different. I couldn't find any more information other than it expressly stating that the NOTAKLÖN had a limited liability warranty, which is different from all the other warranties that are listed on the JHS website. And I think this is an important thing that should be talked about more. From a consumer's perspective, you are sacrificing consumer protections for the ability to say that you did it yourself. That's kind of all you're gaining for what you're trading off. And if you're okay with that trade-off, that's fine, but you should be aware that there is that trade-off. And my concern is not that JHS did this, because it's understandable why, and that's how those warranties on DIY things work. But it's the fact that, while I mentioned it earlier, the entire pedal market is a derivative of itself. If someone does something and it's successful, case in point, the Clone Centaur, everybody copies it. And in this case, the JHS NOTAKLÖN, they've managed to sell a clone pedal over $1 million in a week. That is a success, and you can bet that a whole lot of other companies will want some of that for themselves. I would not be surprised if we start to see a lot more of these DIY kits that, well, you're not really doing much at all. But the companies will be saving on labor for the assembly, the warranties, the returns, and I just can't help but see this as a step back, a regression in the market. So anyway, that's just my critical way of thinking about things. Feel free to disagree, just don't shoot the messenger, because I've got oh so many more messages. Alright, see ya. Bye bye.